Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Javier Rodriguez, and I'm a student of Physics 2211 at Georgia Tech with Dr. Greco, Section M, precisely. And today I'll be talking to you guys about a lecture I actually attended as part of my class. And this lecture took place March 24th, so 6:30 p.m. in the College of Business in Georgia Tech. And it's part of a program called Tech Talks, which is similar to TED Talks, but more of a competitive edge, if you may, that is given to these specific ones, and it's usually held at Georgia Tech. This one in particular was called Communicating Science Competitively, and it was part of the Atlanta Science Festival. It had five speakers. It had six speakers actually, of which five of them were undergraduate students, PhD students, and one of them was actually a faculty professor here of the School of Electrical and Computer Engineering. So for this particular public lecture, as I mentioned, the objective was to say why science and engineering was important to everyday life. That's hence the name Communicating Science Competitively. Now the competitive side comes from like each of these individual five students from Georgia Tech has a different outlook or a different reason why I think that science is important for everyday life. So now I'll be talking to you guys about three of the speakers that particularly spoke to me and that I found to be the most relevant, and I can relate to them better. So the first one was Ms. Tesla Solomon Lane. She's a PhD student in neuroscience for Georgia State University. And in order to prove her point on why science is important and engineering is important, she explained about an average product, like why society needs science, how an average product, like say Q-tip, a shoe, a shirt, how things that we disregard as like just nothing, not something innovative, not technology, just a thing that's average product, how that stuff is actually really important. She used an example with the blue banded goby, which is actually a small, very small orange fish with blue lines. Now this particular type of fish goes about 2 to 2.5 inches long. And now the particular thing that she mentioned in her presentation is that these fishes are able to change their sex whenever it suits their position in social hierarchies. Now we can detect within minutes a change in their behavior when a fish begins to transition. And generally it takes 1 to 2 weeks to complete the transition from female to male or vice versa. These fish actually have a skewed sex ratio in the natural environment. In other words, the goby groups are not 50% male and 50% female, as one might expect, or as one can see from our normal society. As Gerber explained, gobies are most often living groups called harems that usually consist of one male and 4 to 5 females. Now, see, in a natural setting, if a leading male dies, the most dominant female remains in the group, will take leadership of the harem and then physically change into a male so that she can be the alpha male, if you may. Now, why would the female actually change their biology? As I said, it's actually because she wants to be the alpha male. She wants to be the leader of this presentation. And, for example, and essentially, she's just trying to say how innovative it is that these fish can have their sex change like that. It's very different, and it's something that can happen to us. And it seems that for us, it's very revolutionary. It's very different because it's not something regular in our daily life. But for them, it's regular life. It's nothing. The fact that they can change. So this simple fact can be related to humans. And she's just trying to say that we shouldn't disregard usual things that we think aren't really science or engineering. So the second speaker that really spoke out to me was Natalie Schroeder, an engineer at Georgia Tech. She's a PhD student at Georgia Tech, actually. And her presentation is called How Thinking Gets You Pregnant and Why Society Needs Science. Now, her presentation was definitely the most humorous of all the presentations. She provided a thought-provoking perspective on the pitfalls of unscientific thinking. See, she mentioned how our first reference to science is usually our parents, because at a very young age we're very curious and want to learn as much as we can. So the people that we go to ask these questions are usually our parents. So this girl, Natalie Schroeder, when she was very young, she asked her parents the very regular question, where do babies come from? She asked her, why are you fat, Mom? And she said she was going to have a baby. And so she kept asking the question, where do babies come from? And obviously her mom dodged the question and kept providing, you know, different reasons why this. So first she said you have to be older than five. Second, she said you have to be married. And third, she said you have to be thinking of babies all the time. So all these reasons provided to her, she decided to test them out. Actually, she started thinking about babies all the time. She started actually saying that she started actually proposing to people to try to get married, just to prove her theory, just to prove the science that she had no idea about, because she didn't just believe in the words of her mother. She actually wanted concrete proof of this. And so she knew that part of what she was being told wasn't true. And so she mentioned how this all originated in the 16th century, where the theory of spontaneous generation tried to explain why flies came out of rotting meat. People didn't have a scientific explanation. So they just put something together and explain things. But that doesn't make sense. That's not enough for an engineer or a scientist. They have to know the reason behind things. They have to know people need to probe the facts. See, if we don't have science, we're all 5-year-olds because we want answers. And we don't know, we don't want, and we don't know what science gives us. So that's why we should really consider what's being at hand, analyze the information, and test things out in order to prove things. Know why science is doing things, and and just apply science to everyday life, really. Now, the third speaker, and I think my favorite personally, was Mahdi Al-Hussein. He's a biomedical engineer, undergraduate at Georgia Tech, and his presentation was called Cold Beers and Engineers, right? So this presentation talked about cold beer and engineering. He said he talked about his redneck friend and how his redneck friend said, "Oh, engineers, all the good things they gave us, beer, something so simple, right? Something we just completely disregard. It's just a drink, right?" Well, to him it was a big thing. Another thing he mentioned, it was a convenient way of life, if you may. Now another thing he mentioned was the Q-tip example. See, we disregard the Q-tip, but it is innovative, something that is vital in our everyday life. See, it is useful, it is essential, but we don't think it is important, if you may, even though it makes life easier and increases our overall convenience. The Q-tip, in reality, shows a progress in an entertaining and an approachable way. So really, summing up, Marty's presentation was just saying how simple everyday things are actually really, really innovative things that we disregard, and how really the most innovative things we could ever come up with are simple everyday things. In fact, he also mentioned how engineering and science isn't just inventing new things, inventing the latest phone or inventing the fastest car or a spaceship. It's about taking what you have and improving it, making it better, engineering it, if you may. I think that's really what his presentation was about. Now, another presentation that was also pretty important was Nick Selby's presentation. He's a mechanical engineer, undergraduate at Georgia Tech, and he showed the difference between a brad and a green screen, right? He also mentioned the difference between the shape of a hexagon and a square. See, when you're about to use materials to build a building or whatever, you need to know which materials you're going to use. So, obviously, we assume the square is the best one. However, hexagon allows a minimization of this amount of used material to reach minimal weight and a minimum material cost. The geometry of the honeycomb structure can be varied widely, but the common feature of all such structures is an array of hollow cells formed between the thin vertical walls. Now, I think what he's trying to say with the example is the fact that science can increase efficiency in daily life. So, while we've had square structures for a long, long time, some scientists and engineers somewhere said we should use honeycomb structures. And he went out, he tested it, and that is why we use honeycomb structures and we try to be more efficient. So science and engineering can, in a way, just make our life more efficient and interesting. The final now, after all the undergraduate speakers spoke, we had John E. Kressler, which is an ECE faculty member here at Georgia Tech. He talked about how science is reshaping the planet. He actually took Snapchats, or he showed Snapchats of outer space, and we could see the different steps, the different phases of light pollution in our planet. We could see that at the beginning there was only light in the United States, Japan, very big countries, but all this changed, and you can see the big places kept getting brighter, and other places just kept getting lights. It showed as light increased, the development of the country increase. We could see the development of the country is going very fast. It's speeding up. We're evolving so fast because we have a curious mind, and that I think that makes us really advance as beings. This is a night view of the world. And now, he also mentioned online dating, right? So back then, dating was very different. Sometimes we would have a great amount of arranged marriages. It was very old-fashioned. Nowadays, however, 1 in every 3 American couples is married. American married couples, is actually met online. This showcases the impact of science and technology in our daily life. So now I think as mundane as real life, and as mundane and real as romance and human interactions is actually influenced by technology. We can have friends that we met online, people that we've actually never even seen in real life. We can have our significant other, the person's going to be with us forever. Someone we marry met online through technology and science and engineering. Technology increases communication. Now, another important topic you mentioned this is electrical computer engineering part of it. The cost for computers is actually decreasing, but the computing power is increasing. This is to approach more people about the importance of technology. He mentioned how fast Moore's law of exponential growth in transistors is growing related to other things. So transistors, their cost for production is going down, while the cost to make them is also going down. So honestly, we're going to keep having more and more transistors, and the price for them is going to keep getting cheaper and cheaper. And transistors is going to keep getting better. It's going to keep going exponentially. However, Dr. Kressler went on to mention how this exponential growth will eventually come to a stop. That's actually what his research involved. His research involved speeding up advancements and finding out how to get more out of current transistors. But one day, things will eventually slow down. Now, just to sum up, I think I found this presentation really good. It might have been a bit of a general subject, not really focused on physics, but I found it really interesting because I honestly disregard a lot of things I have. I am big on technology. I have a computer, I have a PlayStation, I have a TV in my room, very big on technology, but I disregard the clothes on my back. I disregard the acne pads I use every day, the comb. I used to comb my hair before doing this presentation. I disregard these things really because they just seem like mundane things, mundane objects. But really, they're actually very innovative things like Q-tips, such as Marty mentioned. They're very innovative things, and if someone had invented them, someone hadn't, I'll be cursing myself out. Because science and engineers have such an important impact in society. And sure, we can say that we're going to keep going, we're going to keep getting better and better, but really, since exponential growth, since there's going to be a point where everything's going to be invented, we have to focus on just improving what we have, being the most efficient beings we can. Because after all, what are we engineers? It's not people that engineer things, people that make things better, more efficient. I thank you for your time, and have a wonderful day.